Guys, I have a groundbreaking discovery. Fucking Christ, dude, I can't even talk. So, there's a problem in our society, okay? And it's stupid people are ruling the planet. And they are the most confident people out there, while the nice, noble, and intelligent ones of us are quietly sitting on the sidelines watching the planet get destroyed because we're
insecure,
worried about little things that don't matter, overthinking situations, procrastinating on doing things because we're perfectionists and blah, 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 blah. And I want to, today, talk about how we can get more intelligent people into the arena. So, this sort of thing isn't just limited to social situations. It can be limited to academic fields. It can be limited to artistic fields and people pursuing their passions. And, they're too afraid to pursue their dreams because they see all the obstacles in their way when someone who, is doing the retard Maxine mantra thing going on right now, they will just, kind of just charge through and learn as they go, which is very oftentimes a positive or actually effective way of doing things. But I think that there's a sort of middle ground that we need to find, or you should find, that will make you the most competent, confident person, right? Because there's a difference between doing something where you're not as intelligent and you're not seeing the bigger picture, and so you're missing details, and then it makes you confident because you don't know. But then there's the opposite problem where you're worried too much about details and you have too many concerns about things that don't really matter, right? Just because you're intelligent doesn't make you good at filtering out information. Oftentimes, a lot of things don't actually matter and you're worried about them. And I think that there's a lot of traps within this area that we can fall into if we're not careful. I guess the most important one, and I should probably just address this first, is the whole Dunning-Kruger effect. The Dunning-Kruger effect is basically a cognitive bias where when you're not as aware or you're not as knowledgeable in an area, it makes you more confident because you don't know what you don't know. And that makes you feel like you're an expert in things when you don't know the difficulties or the details of the problem that you're talking about. And this is why a lot of people become armchair quarterbacks or, think they're experts in other fields when they are an expert in one field. It gives them the confidence to think that they just know better than the other people working in that other field. And this is something that's really important for people to be aware of, because it can make people who don't know anything feel like they know better than the experts. And then the people who are experts are staying quiet or they're insecure because they know all the details of their field. And then so they're not speaking out when they're actually the most competent people in that field. And they're the ones whose voices should be heard. So that's the Dunning-Kruger effect. Obviously, the answer is, don't assume you're an expert in something after 5 minutes of reading a Wikipedia page, and also, speak up when you do know a little bit, or that you don't know, or that the situation is more complicated than people are making it out to be. Another trap that I think that people can be stuck in is the fake it till you make it trap. And the fake it till you make it trap is, it's very tempting to do this, and I think that in many situations it can work. But the problem with fake it till you make it is I think it's only selectively applicable to social situations where you need to throw yourself in the ring. And oftentimes we can not do something because we're so worried about making mistakes, when actually just throwing yourself in the ring is gonna give you so much information and so much exposure that you're gonna learn 4 times as fast as you would learn if you were just sitting on the sidelines thinking and being a spectator. Like, a lot of the time, you're gonna get your most experience by just jumping in and actually like living through the moment. You can theorize talking and flirting with women, for example, as much as you want, but like nothing is gonna make you better at it than just doing it. Like just throwing yourself into it and doing it. Obviously, you shouldn't just, bounce and just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. Like, you should, take an intermission and reflect on the interaction and then be like, okay, that becomes a problem when you're spending months on end or, years even just thinking about talking to people when you're really just, you're procrastinating on doing it again because you're afraid. And so that's why fake it till you make it can be good, but fake it till you make it can be bad because it's like the wrong sort of way of thinking about confidence. Confidence should come from knowing that you are good at something, and it's through competence, right? You don't fake being competent. You're good at talking to people because you've practiced talking. You do your tongue twisters, you've done it a lot, you memorize subjects, the typical charisma principles and all that. Confidence should come through competence and knowing that you're competent in the subject, right? Like knowing that you're an expert in a subject. You, as the whole Dunning-Kruger effect is, as you become more of an expert, you know that you know more than the other people that are talking. So, you should be confident in what you're saying. Another thing that I think this is a pretty cool idea. So I want you to think about like the spectrum of insecurity to confidence. Oftentimes people think that insecurity and confidence are opposites, when I think that they're just they're actually two different modes of being. You can be insecure because, the door to your house is busted down and you don't have any way to like lock intruders out, right? Like you can be insecure in that way. And in that situation, you would actually want to be insecure. Like you wouldn't be like, yeah, I'm cool. Like wild animals could come into my house at any moment and, bother me while I'm sleeping, or like burglars could just walk in right through the front door and you want to be insecure in those situations. Or if like a tiger is coming at you, you probably want to be afraid. Being confident in that situation, you're probably screwed. But then of course you have the whole element of like, acting big and strong will like scare the animal away and may not treat you as a threat. And that's like a whole nother level of thinking there. But I want to stay on course with the idea of using your insecurity as a motivation for action and a motivation for development. You fix your door, right? Or you're insecure about your knowledge, or you're insecure because you run out of things to talk about when you're talking to people or you're flirting with a girl. Okay, well, use that to motivate you to work on yourself. Memorize a bunch of conversations, or, go find things that you're passionate about so that when you're in these situations, you have something that you want to talk about rather than, just being insecure and be like, oh, fuck, I don't really have anything to talk about. I think that was good. So I think I made my point. But do I want to end on this quote? I guess I can end on a quote. How would I end on a quote? So I think there's a pretty good... I want to end this video on a quote. And this quote is by the poet William Butler Yeats. It's in a poem, and the quote goes, "The best lack all conviction, and the worst are full of passionate intensity." I want you to remember that every single time you're ever confident, okay? And you need to figure out whether you're falling under the worst or you're falling under. No, I feel like the quote, it's a cool quote, but like obviously it defeats the purpose. Build your confidence through competence, okay? And then be full of passionate intensity. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Thanks for